Welcome back everyone to theCUBE's Day 2 live coverage here at MWC26, formerly Mobile World Congress. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE. Dave Valente's out on assignment, he's out on the floor getting the stories that matter. And of course, AI is the story this year. As AI comes to the network and the telecom operators, the world will change. We're predicting a hyper-converged edge, among other things, quantum RF. A lot of things are happening that will create more value and monetization opportunities for the folks powering these networks that become AI platform operators. Nevash is here, Global Head of Communications Industry at Databricks. Welcome back to theCUBE, good to see you. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you very much for having me. We are very privileged to be here and excited to have this quick discussion with you.
So we love Databricks, everyone knows, we've been covering them from day one. We love the data platform opportunity in the enterprise, data, compute, GPUs, all looking good, AI factories. But you have an interesting background. You've been on both sides of the table. You've been on the telecom side, and now you're on the software, kind of like the AI side, certainly with Databricks, and data lakes, lakehouses, Lakebase, open source activity. I mean, it really is, Databricks is fueling the development side of the AI, and as AI comes into the networks, we predict, and I'd love to get your thoughts on how the industry could change, because I think this is the last stand for telecom operators to monetize properly, and data and networking seem to be the key components to these AI factories, the AI systems, and the telcos have all the magic lined up. Towers, central offices, power, facilities. So it seems like a perfect storm. What's your reaction?
Totally. I think telecoms have significant amounts and types of data. In fact, listening to the keynotes yesterday, I heard a few CEOs say that the industry has more data than any other industry around. And the opportunity is really, how do you leverage this data to be monetized, to serve your customers far more effectively, to make your network more predictive, and to really support industries become more successful. And I think the great thing about telecoms is that they are supporting consumers, but they're also supporting enterprises and fairly large businesses. So whichever way you look, there is this incredible opportunity for them to unify their data, and it's highly regulated also, so that whole governance piece is critical. And once you have your data and your data estate, you have an incredible opportunity now to use it to your competitive advantage, and that applies irrespective of whether you're a data scientist or an engineer or a chief marketing officer. And we've been talking to a lot of heads of telecom networks or heads of IoT, because all of these business functions within a telco have the great data sources where when they merge or unify, you can see what's happening with the customer and the network, because any problem that you're trying to solve for a customer or any growth that you're looking to derive in a telecom requires access to both of those sets of data.
Nevash, we had Ali Ghodsi in our New York Stock Exchange CUBE studio recently, and we're talking about agents, and I try to get him all stoked up on the hype. He's like, John, if people just solve basic problems, let's start there, because it's an enterprise play. And then at Databricks' summit last year, I interviewed Patrick Wendell, the co-founder, who I've known since his Cloudera days, and we were talking, and he was talking about some of the development stuff that's coming out in terms of the automation with the agents. And one of the things that struck me is that Databricks has nailed, with their success, and obviously the valuations, it's just a scoreboard, they've nailed the data transformation for enterprises to move from traditional IT with the data lakes and ushered in this developer-led, open source, data-centric view. Now, with the telecoms, they seem to be at the same point as old IT was years ago, which is, we have a way of doing this. We sell connectivity, we average revenue per circuit. They have all these old legacy metrics. And now they're shifting to, I have to manage the AI platform, I have data, and I have to then monetize by services. So there's a huge mindset shift in telco right now. How do you see that as head of the communications industry? Are you seeing that same pattern of, hey, like the enterprise experienced kind of an awakening? Are they awake? Are they paying attention to that the model of operations is going to change? Because they have the data, they have the networks, they have wireless, they got the wireline, they got the facilities, Are they changing? Where are their heads at?
Look, I think if you look around Mobile World Congress, I often feel like it's like a data and AI Congress. Everyone's talking about the data, and in all the conversations we have with C-level executives at telcos, they often tell us that they understand the challenges of this industry really well. They also understand how to solve the issues, so they have a strategy to address whether it's churn or customer growth, subscriber growth, revenue growth. But the thing you see is that in order to address any of the issues they have and overcome them, everything leads to data. And let me give you an example. Right now, most telecoms are trying to effectively bundle solutions. Whether it's at the edge or for a family but that may need new subscriptions. And there are so many different data points to do that. So one of the opportunities that we've been sharing is just your next best offer. So imagine you call a call center, you're moving house, and in that moment, the operator is able to see that you have a family of 3 or 4 or 5. You all have separate plans with the telecom, and they all expire at different points or come to an end at different points. Now imagine if at that point, they could bundle up your family plan together with your fiber service and give you a better opportunity to stay with them longer. And when I look around, at the potential of data, you could start to bring in some of your competitive data, so when you're talking to a customer what they're subject to. You could look at some of the weather data, because in some cases you may need a backup service where you're living. And I think what telecoms are now recognizing is they have all of the data, but the point is, what am I going to do with it? And I think where Databricks has really impacted many of our telecoms already is we have seen revenue growth up to 20%. We've seen ARPU growth of $8. And again, having been in the industry for many years myself, that is actually huge growth. And I think the exciting thing right now is this integration of Lakehouse and Lakebase, because you want to be able, in the moment, real time, to tell what's happening with your customer and what you're experiencing and feeling. But it's equally important at that point to deliver an outcome to that customer that's going to retain them with you. And so to answer your question, I would say there is definitely an awareness, not just on the customer experience side, on the network side, and also limiting fraud and improving how customers can trust you. But it is that integration of your data in the lakehouse, governed data, together with building your apps and your AI agents to take the action. Because when you take the action, that's when you see the outcomes most.
Well, they have the massive data set, so Lakebase, obviously that's the OLTP operational database, high volume, but the lake house and the data lakes are feeding that. That's helping the subscriber in that operational example.
Totally.
Are there other examples operationally that you're seeing mindset shifts, or are they just starting with the low-hanging fruit of let's deal with our current data first?
Yeah, so I have seen some significant shifts on the network side. As you say, it's the analytical data and the transactional database that comes together to give you the outcome, but definitely across the network. How do you deliver an autonomous network? If you have gear in your house, the telecom now is predictably assessing through the various data points if there's going to be an issue with, say, your Wi-Fi box. And what they are also doing is using data and AI to test where the fault is. Is it actually inside your house, or is it on the street?
Yeah.
And once they know that, they can probably seamlessly help overcome the issue so you don't see it. Yeah. But even CFOs, Genie is a solution. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to take your entire organization through this transformation.
It's interesting, I was just listening to a talk this morning about 5G, the disappointment of the monetization of it. Everyone was hoping, hey, we're going to upgrade to 5G, but I get better service and I don't pay as much. It's actually, so that people feel it really fell flat. You're saying that they're shifting to more of a data-centric view to monetize. In your example, that has nothing to do with 5G. That's more the data of our subscribers. So you're starting to see that shift now. Is everyone seeing it, or is it?
I think there are leaders and laggards. in every industry. But some of the organizations that we are working with, AT&T, T-Mobile, Frontier, we've had meetings with Nokia. We're doing a lot with companies like, in fact, probably about 100 telecoms around the world. Now, the extent to which they're moving is a bit different, and yes, the opportunity is huge. So there are leaders and there are definitely laggards. We are starting to see the movement, but there is a way to go. To answer your question about 5G, I think, the convergence of 5G, IoT, and edge compute is where the telecoms are going to start to see the big monetization value. And this is where data and AI plays a huge role, because it could be, at the end of the day, if you are operating a factory, what you want is to manufacture with the lowest amount of defects. Or if you are like a John Deere, what you want to do is deliver a service to a farmer who's always on, the tractor's always working. Or if you're in healthcare, you want to deliver great patient care. And if you're in telco, you want to deliver the network always on and being able to anticipate what your customers need next and give that to them. Those are the outcomes, but to make that happen, it's your real-time data, it's your batch updates and your streaming updates. It's training your AI agents, having them available at the edge. And I think that's where we still have a bit of work to do, but we are starting to see across multiple industries the impact of 5G, IoT, and edge in helping industries also transform.
I think it's super exciting time, and I think this wave is for telcos. Cloud native, hybrid cloud, and on-prem is moving to the telcos. They can't ignore it. It's distributed computing, but I like how you're taking the approach. So explain the engagement with the telcos, because it sounds like they get their data lake, they got Lakebase. Start there, and then figure out the services you might want to peel off and manage. So that's the first step. It seems like that's the Databricks playbook. Is that accurate?
Well, you see, telecoms have so many applications. These are companies that have been around for more than 100 years in most cases. So absolutely, it's ingesting your data from the multiple sources. It's transforming that data, moving it into the cloud of your choice. It's about really having it in an open format, because then you can see the network data and the customer data and what's happening. You can see your financial, your OSS and your BSS data. And yes, once you have that in your lakehouse, you can start to see what's happening with your customers before them calling you. And I think now with Lakebase, what you can start to do is really use that serverless Postgres database to build your AI apps and agents so they can take the action. And that is, where we are going. But to me, the outcomes...
That's real time too, that's real time.
Real time, and the outcomes are what's, the biggest improvement in the industry. So, most telecoms have been growing at 1 to 3% per annum with their revenue. We have had customers grow 20%, because when you connect the dots about an individual customer and you can see their experience and you bring in your external data sources, your internal data sources, you know what that customer needs way before they call you. Or if they are unhappy with you, you don't have to wait for them to be extremely unhappy. You can get them when they are 40% unhappy and start to shape what you are going to give them through your AI applications and agents, so you can have, long-term customer value. But I think one of the things, I often consider, how do I use this myself if I were to go back into telecom and be a leader? There's so many things happening in these businesses, because remember, I'm not sure of your customer count, but when I worked in telco, you're talking about, on average, 50 million customers that you're working with. It's a lot. So what we also have is the way with AI, BI, Genie, not only to visualize this data at scale, but to be able to talk to your data using natural language. And I often talk to telecom executives and they've got these dashboards, and I would ask them, well, try this question. Is that a good set of data or not? Is that normal or not normal? And I would say, well, ask this question. Why has your revenue spiked today? Or why did your subscriber count go up? And quite often, they have to ask someone to generate a report, but today with, all your data being in Unity Catalog, and I've seen a telco executive ask the question just the other day, it's actually saying, well, actually, your revenue spiked because your subscriber count increased by 300 subscribers because you had this enterprise customer that you won a month ago, now port all of those services across to you, and this is now ongoing recurring revenue. Now, when I worked in telco, and for all of the leaders that I speak to at the moment, just knowing that gives you instantaneously the ability to forecast where you're going to land in the month. So it's not just talking to the data at the surface, it's actually getting the data intelligence that sits below it to give you those insights when you're working with 100 million subscribers. To lead from the front.
So you get the business outcome data for reporting, you get the customer satisfaction opportunities or growth, growing the customer base.
Totally, or conversely, if there's a problem, you can ask, what is the problem? Why is this problem occurring? How might I address it? I've even had some leaders ask, we've got a new phone, the iPhone 16, 17 being released. What is the best product strategy? Because when all your data is together, and you've got AI at the core of that and your applications, you can now start to see different insights to give you one of the best outcomes.
I was always critical of telecom, going back a couple of years ago when we first started coming to MWC. I think I called them glaciers in terms of speed of innovation. But now they seem to be moving fast. So I have to ask you, now that you're on the Databricks side, you guys move super fast. If you had to talk to your telco friends, leaders, what would you say to them when they ask, what does AI mean to me? Bringing AI to telco, what does that mean? How would you describe that phenomenon for them in terms of what's changed now versus say 5 years ago?
I would say AI is the lever to really bring your strategy to life. You know what to do to grow this business and to improve your customer experiences, but you've struggled, you've tried different things for 5 or 10 years, and it actually hasn't moved the needle as much. AI is now the lever for you, but as is your data. You can use your data to your advantage to monetize, and AI is your best companion to deliver these outcomes. It's the actions that you can take, but it's also, I would say, the key area to lift the culture of your business. We've got to take everyone on the journey. We've got to take people on the journey, and it can help, whether you're a data scientist or you're at a contact center, you can use vector search. Whether you're a field technician, you can arrive at a house now and say, hey, this customer doesn't need one modem, it's a 3-level house, they need 3 levels. So I truly believe, and my friends often ask me this, I say, start with the outcomes. At least get started. Start with the outcomes, know what you want to achieve, then understand the data that you need to achieve that outcome, and then create the application and the AI to get you there. And working with a company like Databricks, because telco is so heavily regulated, having that governance, full lineage traceability, access control, because remember, you don't want anyone to access any data because you have 100 million subscribers, you've got a lot of data in there. So those are the underlying principles, I would say, that you need. You need to know the data you have, you need to have trust in the data that you have, and you need to also monitor your AI agents. These are not things that you just let run up, so you need to evaluate them, monitor them, because they are actually delivering 20% growth in a telco, reducing churn by 40% today. Now imagine if you had 100 million subscribers and you're churning out 9% a year and you can reduce it by 40%. It has a massive transformational impact on your P&L, and you can get to those faults in your network way before. So start with the outcomes, ensure you have the governance in your data, unify your data, own your data, and use both your operational data, analytical, and your transaction.
They have the keys to the kingdom, they have the data, and they got the networks. So I think the edge is going to be a very big thing as AI models come to the edge. You're starting to see more intelligence, AI, that's all hyped up. I think that's a great vision. Final question for you, appreciate your time, is talk about the momentum Databricks has in the communications industry. Stats, share some data, who you're working with, the coolest things you've seen. Tell a few stories of what's going on.
Now, I would love to share a few stories, but I'm not going to give you all the names because I totally trust the confidence of some of our, some customers say don't share my name, but the momentum, I think there's a lot of learning. I think there are some incredible leaders. So, companies that we work with, that we have stories publicly available to every telco right now. AT&T has reduced fraud. Fraud in telecoms are huge, like the industry subject to 30 to 40 billion a year. They have reduced fraud by 80%. As I've said, small to medium businesses is where there's a lot of growth opportunities. And we have seen, upwards of 20 to 40% of revenue growth because you can see what industries need next. We spoke about manufacturing, healthcare. Telecoms are serving all of those industries, and they are now taking an industry play in their enterprise customer base. And we are now starting to see a lot of IoT, edge, data, and AI being delivered as a solution to their own customers, which is giving them, again, significant growth. Churn is a big area of focus because there's not too much of a competitive advantage when you look at the pool of telcos in most jurisdictions. But now, if you can actually get to your customer ahead of them having an issue, and you can help them stay with you, like it costs 3 times as much to save a customer after they leave you, so we have had massive reductions in churn, but the most exciting one, I think, for telecom leaders is really Genie. Know your business, understand your business, and what I'd really love to see next year when we come here is, we're not just talking subscriber count, ARPU, P&L, but we're talking about data intelligence. Because data intelligence in the network and the customer experience is the transformer of growth. We are already seeing it, and look up our Databricks website, come and visit us here at the show.
Well, you're great to have on, love the momentum, congratulations, love the data and AI, of course, coming to the networks. Networking is the key, the data is the key, and of course the business expansion. It's not just mobile subscribers, you talk about businesses, small, medium-sized businesses, you get 5G, 6G's coming, so super exciting time for the telcos, if they don't blow it.
Totally. Well, thank
don't
you.
blow it. Thanks for coming on, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE, live coverage here at MWC, 4 days of wall-to-wall coverage. We'll be right back after this short break.